Imagine being stationed at the literal end of the earth, surrounded by endless miles of freezing, unforgiving ice, and realizing your best chance at psychological survival isn't just a thicker thermal coat, but a seasonal romance. Or, picture swiping on a modern dating app, but with a strict, legally binding expiration date built right into the code. Welcome to 2026, where the rules of love, marriage, and raising a family have been entirely rewritten by the environments we live in.
It really is wild when you zoom out and look at the big picture. We tend to think of romance as this universal, unchanging human experience, a biological constant. But looking at the global landscape today, geography, economics, and demographics are completely dictating how we fall in love, or if we even try to at all. It is almost like love has become a highly adaptable virus, mutating to survive in whatever cultural climate it finds itself in.
Exactly. That mutation is what we are unpacking today. We are taking a world tour of modern intimacy. Because whether you are navigating a literal dating recession in North America or securing an ice husband in Antarctica, the lengths we go to for connection and the new boundaries we are drawing reveal something profound about where humanity is heading. So, where should we start this global expedition?
Let us start at the absolute extreme, Antarctica. It is a fascinating micro-society because it strips away all the usual societal noise and leaves only raw human instinct. Down in the research stations like McMurdo, we are seeing the rise of what they call ice husbands and ice wives. These are intense, fast-tracked relationships that exist solely for the deployment season. People who might even have partners back home are coupling up just to survive the crushing psychological weight of total isolation.
It is the ultimate pressure cooker. It makes me think of how extreme isolation breeds a primal need for immediate emotional anchoring. But you do not actually need sub-zero temperatures to see that kind of hyper-accelerated romance. Look at South America right now, specifically Brazil. They have this incredible fast-track coupling culture. You meet someone, and suddenly you are at their family dinner the very next day.
Right. And in Brazil, it is not just about passionate, expressive dating. It has serious legal and social weight. They have seen a massive rise in stable unions. These are de facto partnerships that essentially grant the legal rights of marriage without the formal ceremony. It is love as a sprint rather than a marathon. But what is truly interesting is how that passionate speed contrasts with the intense moralization of motherhood there. Class pressures heavily dictate how a family is supposed to look. It is a society that embraces lightning-fast romance, but suddenly hits the brakes and imposes strict, traditional expectations once children enter the picture.
That is a brilliant contrast. The sprint of romance hitting the brick wall of societal expectation. It really begs the question, are we rushing into commitment because we crave deep connection, or because society has built a conveyor belt we feel we cannot step off?
That conveyor belt is exactly what a massive portion of North America has completely jumped off. We are officially in what sociologists are calling the dating recession. Right now, in the United States, only 1 in 3 young adults is actively dating. First marriage rates are plummeting, people are waiting until well into their 30s, and projections show a third of young adults might never marry at all.
A dating recession. It sounds so clinical, almost like an economic crash, but it is not a lack of desire, is it? From what the data shows, people still desperately want commitment, but their baseline priorities have completely flipped. It is no longer about finding a financial provider, it is about emotional safety. We are seeing a generation prioritize mental security over traditional timelines. You even have high-earning women happily marrying partners with less formal education simply because the emotional intelligence is there. Kids are becoming optional, but peace of mind is mandatory.
Precisely. The traditional checklist is dead. People are looking for a safe harbor, not a resume. But let us spin the globe and look at a place where the demographic math forces a completely different strategy. In Russia, the gender imbalance has reached staggering extremes. We are talking about a society with roughly 10 million more women than men. The ratio is hovering around 86 men for every 100 women.
That is a massive demographic earthquake. How does that reshape the dating market on the ground? Because when supply and demand are that wildly skewed, the entire culture of courtship has to warp around it.
It warps completely towards hyper-pragmatism. Casual dating is practically non-existent. Women are seeking absolute loyalty over luxury. Because when the pool of partners is that small, long-term stability becomes the ultimate premium. And this ties directly into their massive baby crisis. The fertility rate has crashed to 1.37, the lowest in decades. The government is desperately pushing financial incentives for bigger families. But you have an aging population and a cultural tension where people are delaying parenthood despite the state's demands. It is a fascinating, almost tragic tug-of-war between personal survival and national crisis.
It is almost dystopian when you frame it that way. The state needs citizens, but the individuals are just trying to find one loyal person in a mathematically broken dating pool. It really highlights how macroeconomics and population graphs crash right into our most intimate, private moments in the dark.
Which brings us perfectly to how people are trying to take back control of those intimate moments using technology. If Russia is about demographic survival and the US is about emotional safety, India is currently defining the era of hyper-intentionality. The swipe fatigue there reached a breaking point, and now 9 in 10 urban Indians are explicitly looking for meaningful relationships over casual flings. 1 in 3 is planning marriage within a year of meeting.
I find this shift absolutely fascinating. They are calling it the commitment decade, and the mechanisms they are using are wild. Dating apps with sunset clauses? That is brilliant. It is essentially a built-in self-destruct timer. You match, and you have a strict window to either meet up, commit, or the connection automatically deletes itself. It forces action, and completely kills the endless, passive swiping.
It entirely eliminates the paradox of choice, and it is spawning this entirely new dating lexicon. You have terms like freak matching, where people bond rapidly over highly specific, weird niche interests, and wildflowering, which is the trend of letting a connection grow naturally without forcing labels too early. Plus, live-in relationships are absolutely booming in the major metros. They are being used as ultimate compatibility tests before marriage, which is a massive cultural shift from traditional arranged marriages. Yet, beautifully, parents are still heavily involved, often creating the modern dating profiles for their kids.
That is the ultimate blend of ancient tradition and cutting-edge tech. Your mom setting up your profile on an algorithm with a sunset clause. It is hilarious, but it also makes profound sense. It is community-vetted modern romance. And speaking of cutting through the nonsense, look at Oceania. Australia is doing something similar with what is being called clarity coding.
Yes, the Aussies are essentially doing a massive dating reset. Over half of young singles there rank finding true love above their finances or career. They are completely burnt out on ghosting and vague intentions. So the trend now is extreme upfront honesty. You lay your strongest opinions and deal breakers out on the very first date. It is low-key, it is playful, but the boundaries are crystal clear. They are dating to marry, even as overall marriage rates decline. It is a profound demand for quality over quantity.
Clarity coding feels like a psychological defense mechanism against the digital age. We spent the last decade hiding behind screens and curating perfect, untouchable personas, and now the pendulum has violently swung the other way. We just want raw, unvarnished truth immediately. We do not have the energy for the performance anymore.
But raw truth does not always pay the bills, which brings us to the African continent, specifically Nigeria. Here, the intersection of love, family, and immense financial pressure creates a totally different dynamic. Relationships often carry incredibly heavy financial loads right from the start. The expectations to provide and support extended families can crush a new romance before it even gets off the ground.
That sounds incredibly heavy. How do couples survive that kind of foundational stress? If you are carrying the financial weight of 2 extended families before you even get to the altar, the foundation has to be made of steel.
That is the beautiful part. Because of that immense pressure, we are seeing a massive trend of friends to lovers. Many couples are realizing that the only way to survive the financial and familial expectations is to build a foundation of deep, long-term friendship first. They weather the economic storms together as friends, and that naturally evolves into a rock-solid marriage. Meanwhile, the younger Gen Z crowd is navigating this by engaging in situationships to delay those heavy commitments. Furthermore, the family dynamics are shifting drastically. We are seeing successful children who move abroad prioritizing one parent over the other based on emotional connection, and women increasingly setting firm boundaries, defying traditional motherhood mandates altogether.
A quiet rebellion against centuries of expectation, and I think that is the golden thread connecting all of these global trends we have discussed today. Whether it is an Indian couple testing compatibility in a live-in relationship, an American opting out of the dating pool to protect their peace, an Aussie demanding absolute clarity on date one, or a Nigerian woman redefining what a successful family looks like. People everywhere are rebelling against the old scripts. They are writing new rules that prioritize their own psychological survival in a really chaotic world.
It is a global rewriting of the human heart, but it makes you wonder what the ultimate cost of all this hyper-intentionality is. We are optimizing love. We are putting sunset clauses on romance, demanding emotional safety, and coding our clarity. But in our quest to engineer the perfect, pain-free relationship, are we risking the messy, unpredictable magic of just falling blindly in love? We have built the tools to filter out all the friction, but friction is often what creates the spark.
That is the million-dollar question. If we curate our romance to absolute perfection, we might just optimize the passion right out of it. It is a beautiful and slightly terrifying thought to leave on. As the map of modern love keeps redrawing itself, the only certainty is that the landscape tomorrow will look nothing like today. Keep your hearts open, but maybe keep your sunset clauses handy, just in case.